MacDiarmid at 7.
Screw the colors down.
It's semifinal Saturday here at the 2018 Nova Scotia Scotties here on Bell 5 TV1, and it features Jill Brothers of the Mayflower Curling Club taking on Kristen MacDiarmid out of the Halifax Curling Club. And joining me once again for the call here is John Seitman. My name's Dan Hobson. Delighted to have you here on a Saturday night. A pretty good crowd on hand, and I'm sure that if the fire marshal was around to take a look and see how many people was around, he'd have to turn a blind eye because there's lots of people here for it. Of course, we've got action on the other sheet as well. It's a semifinal over there in the men's between Mark Dacey and the hometown boy Stuart Thompson. And Stuart Thompson trying to do the unthinkable and win 3 in a day. So we'll keep everybody up to date on that one. Here we are, as you see, the team brothers. It's been definitely been an up and down ride for them here in these championships. And for MacDiarmid, she was cooking with gas for the first 5, going 5-0, and a couple of losses towards the end of the 6th and the 7th draws. But the thing is, draw portion is over, so everything was done beforehand. Clean slate. Here we go. And it's just a chance to punch their ticket in the final to take on Marianne Arsenault of the Dartmouth Curling Club. John.
Yeah, for sure, Dan. It should be a really good match here for both teams. Again, if I remember correctly, number 1 and number 2 in the provincial rankings. They've both had great years here on tour, and Jill Brothers had a great win this morning, coming up clutch against Teresa Breen. So looking forward to a excellent match here on semifinal Saturday night, and I'm glad to be here on the call with you for that. It should be a good game.
Yeah, and John was all ready to go. He got was ready to go, fill in assignments.
Late call up.
Oh yeah, so it's like to have you here. So here we go, and of course we're going to talk about the teams throughout and what's really up in store for this one. And, of course, we'll meet the teams. And here is the Kristen MacDiarmid foursome out of the Halifax Curling Club. That's Julia Coulter. The second is Liz Woodworth. Third, Marie Christensen. The skip is Christian MacDiarmid. Fifth, Kelly Backman. And their coach just about 1 or 2 arms length away, Danny Christensen. Fine gentleman out of the Halifax Curling Club. And here is the brothers team. And this, of course, is Jennifer Bryan. The second, Sarah Murphy. Aaron Carmody is a third. The skip, Jill Brothers. Fifth, Bliss Joyce, coached by Daryl Nowlin. And they are out of the Mayflower Curling Club. So there are your participants here in this one. And as we said, MacDiarmid has the hammer, and she is throwing the blue stones.
So this game is pretty much starting off exactly as we would expect. Both teams have played this style pretty much all week with the pretty clean start to the game. No need to take too many risks early. Again, as our viewers are familiar, it is 10 ends of play, 38 minutes of thinking time, and if we're all tied up at the end of all that, we would play one more to decide the winner. So no need to take any real risks this early in the match. MacDiarmid will want to try to blank this end and carry over the hammer into end number 2.
Here's Sarah Murphy with just a little bit of a wobble. She came out of her sliding path here. So, as you said, clean start. Pretty well taken the rocks into the house. And bang on. A little slight roll. Now we'll sit there in the 8-foot area.
Yeah, the important thing in this type of a early start is to try to keep rolling over to a different position on the sheet, as it really tries to get in a position where the other team will not make the hit, and it can cause you to sort of execute a little bit of change in momentum, but both teams have played extremely well all week, so that I don't really see that there's going to be very many mistakes this early. These two teams have come here ready to play, and they are going to execute the shots when needed to get that big spot in the final against Marianne tomorrow.
Sarah Murphy here as they're into the midway point here of this first end. And for Team Brothers, let's talk about their path here. They started off with wins against Isabel Ladiseur and Colleen Pinckney, and then a loss to Colleen Jones, followed up with a win against Teresa Breen. So everything was looking pretty good for them, 3-1 after 4 draws, but then losers of their last 2 out of 3 to Marianne Arsenault, Julie McAvoy, then got a win over Kristen McDermott, the final draw number 7. And of course, you called it here this morning, the tiebreaker against Teresa Breen, and got the win over that, and that's how she got to this portion, of course, the semifinals. So she's basically playing her second one after coming this morning. So this is just pretty well par for the course for the ladies. Most of the times they've had like 2 draws a day, so that's not a huge task for them here in these championships.
And it's been one of those interesting days for Jill after this morning. It was a crazy start because she went up 5-0, and then out of nowhere Teresa just ended up coming back, just kept stealing, and it ended up that it took an extra end to decide the winner of that match. It was not the type of tiebreaker that Jill thought that she was going to end up having to play, especially because that match was truly worthy of a final between those 2 former finalists. But again, she did what a former champion does and executed the shots that they needed to make, and that's why they're in the semifinal here tonight.
Here we are, third stones. This is Marie Christensen.
So again, just trying to feel everything out. Just the positions on the sheet are a little bit fresh already, and just trying to figure out
out she goes
where everything is there. It does go out just a little bit, so that opens up an opportunity for Jill Brothers.
Both looking at it, we see white ice in between. Of course, there's also a monitor because we're in with the audience seeing the same thing as well, because I get like extra cameras that can get shots of the sheets that they switch back and forth. So I've learned one thing about coming here and watching upstairs at a curling club, that you have to be A, really in good shape, and B, have to be a technician pressing all those buttons getting up every time. So it's like you can't even really get comfortable to watch the game.
Yeah, us curlers really like to watch whatever is happening out on the ice as high tech as possible sometimes, and as simple in other ways. There's some good spectators here tonight watching the action. A pretty large crowd compared to earlier in the week, and we expect it's going to be more as we finish up the evening and head on to Championship Sunday for some big matches where Jamie Murphy and Marianne Arsenault await.
Yeah, the folks up here at the Dartmouth Curling Club do a lot more in terms of switching, just like our producers Chuck Calder and Sean Senegal. They've been doing a fantastic job throughout. So basically, they're pretty well the same thing, except for just hitting like 3 buttons. So, but they've done a fantastic job downstairs. Delighted to have them. Delighted to have you. And, of course, we're delighted to have you guys at home watching this one on semifinal Saturday here on Bell 5 TV1.
So now on skip stones here. So Kristen now has one in at the edge of the 4-foot. Jill will want to try to get some movement as best she can to move it away from that area, sort of get to a different spot on the sheet. They've been pretty much in that same area so far throughout this first end.
Skip rocks here in the first. Jill Brothers, Mayflower Curling Club. Brian Murphy going for a little Saturday night stroll with it. And bang on, removes the blue stone. So now the yellow stone belonging to Brothers is the shot rock here, and as Kristen McDermott makes her way up. And we talked earlier, we had a broadcast with a Kristen McDermott team, and pretty well, I said poker face because maybe get a little bit excited being like 4-0, 5-0, but basically same look on her face as it is now, as it was in the other final 2 games that she played, as the first 5. So
yeah,
you can never tell if she's winning or losing if you take the scoreboard away, John.
Yeah, for sure, and it's really good to see here how well she's doing, keeping the cool, collected feeling as a skip. When the past few years she was playing Vice before moving up to skip this team, I believe she moved to skipping, I believe, last year, and it has been extremely good at that position and has truly made this team her own.
You mentioned, of course, that these teams doing very well. Brothers was number 1 in the standings and McDermott number 2. And things like that hot team of the Marion Arsenal Foursome of the Dartmouth Curling Club have they were, after getting their first loss against McDermott, have run 6 straight. So the reality is that the 2 top teams here during the season, one of them will not be there tomorrow in the final. And nobody predicted that, really.
Yeah, nobody really did predict that. They've been, again, 2 of the strongest teams on tour for Nova Scotia. But, again, the legend Marianne Arsenault and her very strong combo out at the Dartmouth Curling Club really got the wins when they needed them to get to that, I believe, 6-1 record there, and booked their ticket to the final. It's expected that they're going to have a big support crowd out from their home club here, out for that 2 o'clock final tomorrow. So there's going to be an uphill climb for whoever wins this one, having to fend off the hometown crowd to win that one.
Looking at a potential blank here in number 1. Kristen McDermott out of the Halifax Curling Club.
Sweeper's working on it here, and just enough here.
And they'll sweep it out. A good team shot, and we'll be clean here after the opening end.
So good execution there, enough to keep the end clean and retain the hammer going into end number 2. McDermott will probably move her game plan up a little bit to try to score a multiple in this end and put Jill under pressure. Both teams pretty much had a similar style throughout the round robin, where they would try to be able to really get up early on their opponents and then shut them down with some exceptional hit weight. So you are really going to have to see that in semifinals here tonight for whichever team makes it out of this and books their ticket in the final.
Yeah, well, it's kind of really surprising how this Brothers team sort of wrapped things up with the, draws 5 and 6 didn't go their way with the loss to Marion Arsenault and then to Julie McAvoy. So, that put them in the position for that tiebreaker there this morning. And an interesting story is that it was the 7th draw, and Brothers had to face McDermott. So this is the 2nd time that they've met in basically a 24-hour time span. And of course it was Brothers that came out with the victory, but she had to do it. She was trailing that one and found a way to come back and get the win and improved her record to 4-3. So, and was kind of hoping for a little bit of help, and she got the help that she needed. So, and then had the win over Breen this morning in the tiebreaker. So taking the hard path to get here, but she's here nonetheless. Jill Brothers out of the Mayflower Curling Club. And the Halifax Curling Club team, skipped here by Kristen McDiarmid, have a beauty of a shot here as they will bring that around, sit there right on the center line in the 8-foot area.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting there now with McDiarmid has one pretty buried. Jill's going to have to try to come around that and get a little bit of a better position. If she taps on that stone of Kristen's at the top of the 8-foot, it would really make it a little bit easier to access both sides and maybe manufacture a multiple and potentially force McDiarmid to a single.
Of course, if you want to tune in to watch the men's final, you could actually head over to Sheet C. That's with Liz Garded and Selena Thompson as they cover the Stuart Thompson versus Mark Dacey. Single point there for Dacey and 1-0. So we'll gladly keep everybody update on the game over there. But as you tune into this one here, women's semifinal action, as we're starting to wrap things up here. Championship, of course, will be tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. They'll chip that yellow and get a little bit of separation. The yellow will spin and finally come to a rest there in the back 12.
So good result there for Kristen being able to have that move just enough to get shots stone. Jill's probably playing here a hit and roll. If she can get it to roll over from the one blue right beside her broom over to the other, it's possible to potentially get an unexpected double out of it.
Back in the fold after taking a little bit of time off for family purposes, Sarah Murphy. Back to throwing second stone here for this brothers team. Punches that one out, so right now their second and third shot. And let's talk about this Kristen McDiarmid team as we await the throw from them. And we talked about it. Went 5-0. I said wins over Marianne Arsenault, 5-4 in the first draw to start things off on Tuesday, and then wins over Jones, Ladisseur, Julie McAvoy, Colleen Pinckney, and then all of a sudden they had two losses to Teresa Breen and Jill Brothers at the end of the draw. So hoping maybe that they could get a little bit of steam. Of course, it's hard conditions, 2 draws a day. We mentioned about 3 draws a day and 2 being okay, but it's a hard schedule. So all of a sudden it's a mental game too. So hopefully they can maybe find that other gear and get things going. As you are a little busy to socialize with some people here.
Well, it's actually my elementary school French teacher here. Yeah. She just got off work.
And another throw on its way here by Murphy.
Yeah, so setting up well here.
And they pick that out.
Team Brothers, with those ones just biting at the edge of the 8-foot, it really puts them in a good position to try to force Kristen to take a single in this end.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier about, of course, that draw 7 yesterday. Brothers trailing 5-3 after 8 innings of play, and then Brothers got 3 in the 9th and 1 in the 10th to win 7-5. So she's got a little bit of cardiac kid in her. So,
and like with that game in that tiebreaker match, she's really coming off a wave of momentum. That originally she was at the point where her tournament was almost over and was able to pull off the wins when she needed them, which is truly what a champion does.
Yeah, well, it was frustrating with her because yesterday, sort of after the morning draw, she was, I believe, morning, afternoon. They're all combining with each other right now. But I know there
It's
was
a long week.
yeah, it was a draw in the afternoon, and I know that she was saying that some of her rocks were picking. That was on the sheet C that the men's semi is on, and just saying, just kind of a little bit frustrated, of course, as to be expected. So, but she's had to put that, and basically just flush that out of her system and get back to, the task at hand. And she has done that, and here she is doing very well here in this end.
So now this sets up really well for Jill Brothers. However, that being said, you'll probably see now from Team MacDiarmid, you can access that stone at the top of the forefoot with a bit of a lower weight and probably get the stone at the back moving as well.
Marie Christensen and MacDiarmid having a quick little conversation.
Yeah, I just want to be confident in how your skip wants to execute the shot.
Definitely well by. Brothers ready to pounce there, and going to try to brush that blue one out, and does. So the thing's starting to look a little bit better, but it's still the shot stone there, just barely close to that 8-foot area in the back belonging to Brothers.
Yeah, that gives them the opportunity now that Jill's able to call on Aaron Carmody to draw in again, get a little bit of a better bury behind the guard, and really put Kristen under pressure to potentially give up a steal. And you never know, things can happen in this type of a event and in this type of a big game. We'll have to see how it affects Kristen, as this is one of her first major appearances in the playoffs at this level in the past few years. She did have a tiebreaker match when the Scotties was last here, when she was playing vice for Kelly Bachman, her now fifth, and unfortunately came out on the wrong side of that one, looking to get some redemption here at her original home club.
Yep, they sit 2 right now, this Brothers team.
So it appears like they're trying to go for the freeze at the back of the forefoot. If they're able to get this locked in nice, it would really get them out of the end pretty much in a better position than what they were about 4 rocks ago. Can't really tap that too much, so they need to come down.
And right on. Might
Well
have been
done.
a little bump, but boy, that a little bump's better than, of course, a bigger bump, and then they could have punched it out, but that makes it really tough there. So nice shot there by Marie Christensen.
Yeah, it's really challenging there now because that stone pretty much isn't going anywhere. So pretty much the most that you're going to see, unless an error is made, is pretty much a single point, or something may change as we advance, and who knows, but it's very difficult to see anything other than 1 with a possibility slightly at 2 now after that freeze was made.
Yeah, well, we've always said this, and I'm sure that we have probably said it so much that probably people's ears are ringing back at home, but any rocks behind the tee line, not your friends, because all of a sudden teams can come down and freeze. Case in point.
But again, still the challenge is that though teams can freeze the ones behind the tee line, it's still a challenging shot because we've seen so many times if you're the least bit off on your weight and you get a little bit of a tap, it can make it pretty much easy to remove. But it seems that these two teams have gotten a feel for how they need to freeze.
Pushes the yellow back and the blue furthers, but the shot rock now still belonging to Brothers after that one. But there was probably just a tad heavy. There was a little bounce as we saw as it came to an end. Of course, you've talked about it. Of course, the 2018 Scotties being held in Penticton, British Columbia. The field's starting to get a little bit more clear with Sherry Anderson out of Saskatchewan, Robin McPhee at the Prince Edward Island. We've seen Robin McPhee at the Dave Jones in the last couple of years, and Kerry Galusha from the Northwest Territories, Stacey Curtis of Newfoundland Labrador. So
yeah, and one of our former broadcast colleagues there, Christy Gamble, it came oh so close to representing Saskatchewan. She was in the 1-2 page playoff game in Saskatchewan before losing a few and getting knocked out at that event, but really put up a good showing there. The veteran Sherry Anderson representing.
Hey, what can you say there? Look at that shot.
Yeah, great result there, but
yeah,
that being said, it's open enough that if you throw just a lightweight hit, get to the edge on the center line side, you can punch that through and still sit your 2. And if you flop just right, you're pretty much forcing a draw pretty much to the full button. The big question is how low weight do you want to go, or are you confident that Kristen is not going to be able to get the draw of the 4-foot, which, as we've seen all week, she's been pretty good at drawing to that 4-foot when needed.
Front end of Bryan and Murphy standing there by the hack out of your screen right now, and they're looking at it. There is those 2 ones and in that 4-foot area.
It does kind of appear like they may be thinking about the possibility of a jam, because if that yellow that they have at the back of the 4-foot gets moving, there is going to be some contact with the blue immediately behind it. So there could be a few results. That's why I think they're probably going to play a little bit more weight now. They can afford to get it because of those catchers.
Well, just when you think that they had everything all decided, Brothers got down there, and now she'll come back down, as you see. Parallel walking, as you saw there, pretty well, going together, well executed.
Yeah, again, pretty much they just want to be as confident as possible and
synchronized walking.
I was going to say more in their execution, that they want to be sure that they know that this is the shot to call. This is the exact weight that we need, because as we've seen, the little differences and little mistakes have caused some of these teams who have been so confident to come out on the wrong side of games.
Of course, you're going to hear a lot of background noise here with in our headsets here, John. Just want to give everybody attention to that, because a lot of them, of course, are watching the boy curl out of his hometown rink, that being Stuart Thompson, so you may hear a lot of reaction in the background. So
yeah, there's a lot of hometown support there for Stuart.
Oh, punches it out. Beauty of a shot to set 2. Without hammer here for Brothers.
And that's going to be extremely challenging. I think the only, you're pretty much, in this situation, I think you're almost forced, because there's no real way that I can see that you can get there, except hope maybe if you draw on the other side and try to at least try to play for the draw to the back yellow on the back of the 4-foot, you may get lucky and you have a little bit less weight and get it over there. It's super challenging just because of the chunk that of the yellow that is on the button being just at the position. I don't think you can really get over there, though. So I think this is pretty much probably just playing to give up a steal, because really that's all you can do. Well played from Jill Brothers.
Final stone, Kristen and MacDiarmid out of the Halifax Curling Club. Brothers in good position here to get a steal here early in this one, as MacDiarmid faces 2 yellow stones.
going to need to come down here.
Can she get anything? Well, as you said, just pretty well minimize the damage. Steal 1 there for Brothers.
So again, really well played in from Jill,
Yeah.
being able to execute like that and force a steal out of Kristen.
Yep, so 1-0 is where we stand as we head to the third in. Jill Brothers over Kristen McDermott as we head to the third. Sorry, John.
Well, I was just going to say it was, again, really well played in from Jill. You really haven't seen that type of end where Kristen has been forced like that all week. She's really been good at executing with the last rock. So Jill was really able to show some good champion tactics and get that single point steal that she needed to open up this game.
So we're back to action here in number 3. McDermott holding the hammer, and McDermott is throwing the blue stones. So, of course, we've got some great athletes out here, so let's get to know some of them. And we'll start off here with the McDermott team of the Halifax Curling Club. As we take a look at Kristen, the 31-year-old. Here is Julia Coulter, 26 years old. Been curling for 13 years as accountant for CPA at Efficiency 1. 2015 Nova Scotia Mixed Doubles Champion with her now husband Travis Coulter, who's over on the other sheet. 2011, 2010, and 2012 AUS and CIS curling champions, bronze medal in 2011 and a silver in 2010.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night there for the Coulters. I'm sure they will be trying to stay as focused as they can on their own games, but I'm sure one eye will probably be looking over every so often to see how the other's doing.
Or you buy one of those HDMI monitors and you have one on one screen and another one on the other.
Or some of those fancy glasses that you can get that will have like a computer screen on it or something.
Not much of a brush laid to this one here on the throw by Jen Brine. Comes to a rest. That's 1-1 over there as they play in 3. Stuart Thompson single point in the second in. So as I said, 1-1 as they head to the third.
So this end hasn't quite started like Kristen really wants. So she's going to try to get the takeout here on the stone at the top of the 8-foot.
Trying to keep the line here. That was started taking off, yes, and they just get a piece of it. They'll push the blue to the rings. Yellow does go as the blue stay on to bite, very much so. It's almost like they had that pretty well in their plan, but of course it was nice brushing there, especially there by Woodworth and Christensen. It sort of started like really like taking off in terms of curl rate. And
that's really something that we've seen. That's something that we've seen a lot as we've gotten later in the week. I could guarantee you that pretty much if you had had this same sheet on Wednesday, you probably would not have gotten that same type of extra curl at that area of the ice. But it seems just as the tournament's gone on, it's just the rocks have gotten a little bit more acclimatized. The ice has changed a slight little bit, and it's become a little bit easier to cause it to have that curl.
Hit and roll there by Murphy. So Brothers once again line 2 here in the third. Here is the second, Liz Woodworth here, the 30-year-old digital designer with Brave New World. And 2007, provincial junior champion with teammate Marie Christensen.
Yeah, they've been curling for a very long time together from what I can remember, and obviously with the titles that they've had in the circuit, they've truly shown that they can win the big stuff and
nice shot.
looking to get the spot. here. Good result there from Kristen's second Liz there to get a nice freeze on the back of the button.
I've always wanted to, like these players that have curled together for long periods of time. Feel like what you should do is like those dating shows when you ask those 20 questions and see if their answers really match, sort of thing.
I think I've actually seen a few at a few of the national events. They've actually done that with I think I saw one with Mark Kennedy and Ben Hebert, the very iconic sweeping duo, formerly of Team Kevin Martin, now of Team Kevin Cooey. And you'd be amazed how much you get to know a person when you've been on the road at these Bonspiel after Bonspiel and winning big titles.
Ask people what their favorite food is, what their favorite color is, and see how well they do, and then turn it into a game show.
So Liz trying to get another draw in here to freeze to that stone of Jill's, but it is heavy.
Stop, wanting to put the brakes on, no brakes there. Back out it goes.
And here's something as well to watch that we probably would see a little bit different compared to the other games during the run of the tournament, is that it's a little bit different because during the round robin, there is a specified set of rocks on this sheet. When you get to the semifinals and final stages, they do have the opportunity that if they so chose to match rocks, that they can pick ones from the sheets that they like. And I forget whether that is the case for this one. I thought I had heard them talking about it.
Remove the blue. They lose one in their Yellowstones, but they clean things up to lie 2 once again here in number 3.
So still, again, very well played here from Jill. It's going to force Kristen to try to call for that freeze again. And if they can execute well, they would be able to put themselves in a good position for a multiple. But still challenge right now, sitting 2 is Jill Brothers.
Here's the 29-year-old Marie Christensen. Been curling for 23 years since the age of 6. I don't know what you were doing at the age of 6. I wasn't curling at the age of 6, and I'm still not curling at the age of 42. Registered massage therapist of Brickyard Health, and pretty well a good, maritime resume. 2016 provincial champ and pre-EI 2015 provincial mixed champion in Newfoundland, Labrador, and a 2010 provincial runner-up for Nova Scotia, and has competed for the St. Mary's Huskies. That's a solid program done by another one of our broadcast colleagues, Bill Fletcher, as he coaches that team in the AUS youth sport level. And 2007 and 2009 provincial junior champion for Nova Scotia as a skip with Liz.
So Aaron going here for the hit. You can get enough of that blue to get that out without moving the yellow, which that would good result.
3. See them. 1, 2, 3 for Brothers here. But they're pretty well easily accessible and wide open for hits and plays to be made on them, as you see.
So here looks like you're going to see Marie go for a hit, try to get it, probably roll it as far over to that other yellow on the far left of the 8-foot and try to see what happens with it. Looks like it's just going enough to probably get to the nose, which still is a good shot.
It looks like they'll try to exchange shots as we are into this third in. Skip rocks. And semifinal Saturday. Still nothing to report there, anything in terms of news on the Sheet C with the Stuart Thompson versus Mark Dacey game. Of course, the winner of that one will take on Jamie Murphy tomorrow morning. So that's going to be a real quick turnaround for them.
Either way, that's going to be an extremely good match because you have Daisy, the 2004 Brier champion, with a very strong team with some young guns in the front end, and teaming up with his longtime teammate Andrew Gibson. And on the other side, you have Stuart Thompson, who has been in the final last year, looking to redeem himself after a tough loss to Jamie in the final, and maybe get himself to the Tim Hortons Brier. He's been playing clutch so far today, and maybe he may get it tomorrow.
Nose hit once again as Brothers lies 3. And there is Kristen McDermott, the 31-year-old, and the 26 years of curling experience, and accountant, a CPA at CFFI Ventures, Inc. 2006 New Brunswick provincial champion for Andrea Kelly, 3-time New Brunswick junior provincial champion for Andrea Kelly, 2002, 2004, and 5, and in 2005 provincial junior champion for New Brunswick and Canadian champion bronze at the Worlds. Right on it they are. May get a little slight roll. There it is, the slight roll. And sits right there on the center line in the 4-foot area.
So appears to be pretty much looking at a potential to get her single. It's not going to be in a spot where she'll have to hit, so unless she wants to. Again, that being said, I would probably see that it's going to be a hit to the edge of the 4-foot, which will probably be what she'll have on her skip stones. Let's see how far this one rolls. I doubt that you're going to see Jill go for the nose.
Concentrated look there of Jill Brothers as she gets ready to release and throw her final stone here in end number 3.
Brian and Murphy working on it here.
She going to squeeze by? Yes, she does. Those yellow in the back. So, as you said, you want the roll away there. And
so now a pretty self-explanatory. Draw a full 8 a little bit further than that stone at the back, right beside the broom of Marie Christensen. And you score yourself your single to tie up this game.
Well, we documented a few seconds ago her curling resume, Canadian and world experience in the junior circuit. Here she is trying to make her name here in the women's and doing a very fine job. We have a great season. Kristen McDermott out of the Halifax Curling Club of her final rock here in 3. And right on, 4-foot area. Single point, so Kristen McDermott 1, Jill Brothers 1 as we head to the 4th here on Bell 5 TV 1. So you see the teams having, we see the McDermott team having a talk here, and you look at the score right now, because we've gone through about a third of this one pretty well, is what you expected or maybe anticipated?
I think, I had an idea when I saw the matchups for this evening that this game was going to be a really tight one, especially as they've been battling it out pretty tight all season in the rankings and have been playing extremely well. So it definitely isn't surprising me that it's a tight game. the big key will be this next 4 ends or so to see who's able to keep the momentum going through to the second half of the match. That could be the key to getting the win, is this next 3 or 4 ends.
So brothers, for the first time here in this one, will have the hammer throwing the yellow stones. And let's get to meet this Jill Brothers team out of the Mayflower Curling Club. There is their lead, Jen Brine, 29 years old, has been curling for 22 years, learning center teacher, Halifax Regional School Board, and 2016 Nova Scotia Provincial Champion with the team that she's on right now, and 2006 Nova Scotia Provincial Junior Champion for current teammate Sarah Rhino, now Sarah Murphy, placed third at the Nationals, and in 2017 helicoptered into and hiked out of the Grand Canyon. So you talk about curlers being in shape, that's definitely a grueling event that I'm sure I would not want to do, and plans on heading to La La Land in March. That's Los Angeles. I just figured I better put that out there.
Oh, yeah.
I think people know, but maybe they think La La Land is like Halifax, Cole Harbor, Enfield, Elmsdale, Truro. All those are nice places, but Los Angeles, of course, have that nice little boardwalk there with all the stars there.
A little bit of a big place to be.
Yeah. Of course, it's...
Yeah, apparently there's actually a very popular curling club in Hollywood.
Now, how that would be one of those ice makers' nightmares. All of a sudden, you have like 30-degree days, and you're in outside. How are you going to try to keep the ice?
I think they pretty much have it in a repurposed hockey rink, and I don't know how they do it, but they obviously do it well because they have a pretty strong membership out there in Hollywood.
Picks out the blue, little roll there for Jennifer Brine. That's just fascinating. As I said, like sometimes when we have like atmospheric conditions change in curling clubs around here, it affects ice, and like I still don't know how they curl in about 27, 30-degree weather down there.
It's funny. It's simply just the conditions that you see there is the difference throughout the week. Like you can have one day where
I think they call that water polo, I think.
One day it can be like minus 15 and it has one effect on the ice. And then you have a day like today where it's been pretty much almost into the double digits, and it can have a different effect on the ice. And teams have to adapt. That being said, I don't know how it would be curling with 30-degree temperatures outside, but I've yet to get to do that.
Folks, there is Sarah Murphy, the 31-year-old forensic engineer for Contrast Engineering Limited, 2006 Nova Scotia Provincial Junior Champion, third at the Nationals, and 2016 Nova Scotia Provincial Champion. And she says that when talking about her team, this is a team with all the babies, and I know that for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing that I said with Selena when we were on the broadcast this morning was that they are lucky enough to have the world's youngest fan club, and you can almost guarantee they're going to be at every match.
So when's the right age to, take your young kid, put them on a rock, and then give them a push?
You never know.
Sounds pretty, I'm not saying that you give it the old heave-ho and throw, kind of pistols while they're on it, but I'm just thinking it's just got to be there. They just love it when it goes turning round and round. They go weeds. It's sort of like the Miracle Round or some of those other, amusement park sort of rides thing for them at that age.
Oh, yeah. So Team MacDiarmid getting a little bit more of a roll toward that center line guard. He still leaves it open, so it gives an opportunity for Sarah Murphy to be able to get the roll first and really put some pressure on.
Just saw a shot of the back. Good crowd down there. Good crowd up here. And amazingly, they stayed pretty dry. It was supposed to, like, the heavens were supposed to open up today.
I think that
looked
was pretty
relatively
much
dry.
earlier in the day, because I can certainly say after the tiebreaker draw this morning, I was a little bit soaked going just up the street. But fortunately, it's cleared up a little bit as we've gotten near to the evening, and it certainly brought out the crowds.
Yeah, of course, it's temperature's going to drop like pretty quickly, like right around probably back to the freezing point or even a little bit lower by midnight comes, after getting temperatures right up into like the 13-degree day. And I know there's probably some people out west saying, yeah, had to rub it in about the warm weather that we're having down here, but things are going to change.
It's a great result here from Marie, being able to get behind the guards. It really puts some pressure on now. It did come out just enough to be open, about half open. So a few opportunities.
Daisy leads Stuart Thompson 2-1. They play the fourth. Here is the 29-year-old Erin Carmody, originally, of course, from beautiful Prince Edward Island, curling for 23 years. A student that attends MSVU University. We had a chance to see her last year at the Dave Jones as well as the provincial championships, John. As we said, Prince Edward Island junior provincial champion 2007 to 2009 as a skip, and 2010 PEI provincial champion and Scotties national runner-up. 4 stones for Kathy O'Rourke.
And she had quite an amazing run there when she made that final, losing out to Jennifer Jones, the current Olympic gold medalist out of Manitoba. It was one of those fairy tale runs that nobody expected PEI to be in the final, but she backed them up with a very strong performance. And again, that's why she's one of the country's best.
Here's the front end working on this one of Coulter and Woodworth.
Sweeper's working on this here. Need to get it in.
Nice work. They just do.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to try to play something with that without losing your shooter. So I think they are lining it up, though, to try to play that double. It's possible.
You see Carmody and Brothers talking to each other just before the throw here from Erin Carmody. Of course, their fifth is Bliss Joyce, who got a lot of playing time last year. You can see they're going hard, hard, hard. That blue one's coming by. Oh, yeah, no problem. Picks out the blue, hoping that yellow takes a spin towards the rings, but based upon that camera angle right there, looks to be out. I see a little bit of white ice separating those rings and where that stone came to a stop, so I'm going to say it's out.
Again, it's very close again.
But they may measure.
You never know, because sometimes those ones which they may look like they have white in can be just a little bit off on the rings, and that could be the difference.
Yeah, well, they have a thing that they could spin around, make sure.
6-foot stick.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen one of those, and it was actually the Ouellette team, Mike Fleming's team, that they used it to their advantage to say that a stone was in when it looked like it wasn't.
Yeah, so. and it's happened many times that has decided championships. It gave Brad Gushu the spot in the 2006 Olympics when he won the trials. Jeff Stoughton used a 6-foot stick and it was just that little bit out and sent Gushu to Torino.
Around and around, and we go again here in 4 as they do the come around. We'll come to a rest in the back 4, just off the button. Shot stone belonging to MacDiarmid. And with a little bit of protection out front, as you see.
So now it does appear like you're going to see Jill on her final stone. It looks like she's going to try to play down and try to freeze onto that stone at the button. And it looks like that's pretty much the ice that they've been taking for that draw. It's a challenge, but if you lock it on really nice, it could set you up in a good position to potentially steal or force.
She went by the previous name of Jill Mauser. Now she is Jill Brothers. She is 34 years of age and is a hairstylist. Been curling since the age of 9, 2001 and 2004. Nova Scotia Junior Provincial Champion. 2004 Canadian Junior Champion, World Silver Medalist. 2007, 2014, and 2016 Nova Scotia Provincial Champion. Skipped in 07 and 2016 and was third for Heather Smith in 2014. And future plans includes honing sons Casey skills to be a future Olympian. The team keeps having babies in order to have an impressive fan club. You talked about that. They have no choice but to cheer on their moms.
Yeah, Jill's been around the circuit forever, and of course, as you said, 2004 Canadian Junior Champion. It took us a while after her title to regain the national junior title, before with Mary Fay winning it just a few years ago. But she's shown that she can win the big stuff at the junior level and has been a few times to nationals at the adult level as well.
You see that we are into Skip Rocks here in the 4th inning of a 1-1 tie between MacDiarmid out of the Halifax Curling Club and Brothers out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Both having fantastic seasons, and both of them do not want their season to come to an end tonight as he punches the stone out and the shooter goes as well.
So Kristen now sitting the 2 pretty much behind cover. So forces a tight draw out of Jill. If you can get this buried around just nice, it would really put Kristen under some pressure.
There you see the situation facing, of course, Jill Brothers as she has the hammer here in end number 4, getting ready to throw her final stone. Facing 2 blue stones belong to the Kristen MacDiarmid team out of the Halifax Curling Club. Slight brushing there by Brian and Murphy. Now they're off. Now they're back on again. Brothers eyeing the shot. Carmody holding broom. And they're hoping that it comes to a stop in time. Yeah, it looks like they'll be okay. Look at, okay, I say okay. It just gets a piece of the lid and the button as it puts the brakes on in time. So Brothers with a single point and 4 as we head to end number 5. 2-1 Brothers over MacDiarmid here at the semifinal Saturday night at the Dartmouth Curling Club, the 2018 Nova Scotia Scotties.
Yeah, definitely, again, the type of game that we expected out of these 2 teams, both playing extremely well all season, and they're not going to let any little mistake be the difference that costs them a spot in the Provincial Scotties final against Marianne Arsenault. They both want the spot in Penticton, BC, and it takes 2 wins to get there after including up to and including this one, and any mistake could be the difference.
Well, the thing is that 7 draws on both sides wasn't enough to determine the top 3 teams. Of course, Breens and Brothers had a tiebreaker for those that have just tuned in, and it was 8-6 for Brothers over Breen. And you had a chance to call it when you were telling me that they started running away with it, but it got a little closer than what you anticipated as a comeback was on its way.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where Jill had such an exceptional performance in the first half of the game, got up to a 5-0 lead, and then one by one, it started to just move over with Breen scoring points to keep on pushing up the board, and she was able to force an extra end, and it was an 8-5 final after picking up a 3. Nail biter of a game, but again, that's why Jill Brothers is a former champion and why she's here tonight.
Well, we've talked about these teams just having so much in terms of similarities, having success on the cash spiel, bond spiel. This is just the World Curling Tour record statistics. Jill Brothers, 21-8. Kristen MacDiarmid, 17-8.
Yeah, Kristen hasn't, if I remember correctly, hasn't played as many events, and Jill has just played in a lot of really big ones as well. So both teams have had an extremely good season in getting many wins on the World Curling Tour. I know Kristen's big victory being at the OVCA Fall Classic in Ottawa, with a big win over a former world, current world junior champion Isabella Rana.
Oh, it's a 7-5 in an extra inning. Boom, boom, and the yellows go in opposite directions, but they'll leave the rings, and a nice shot there.
Yeah, good shot now, especially because it moved it closer to try to be behind cover, and it makes it a little bit more in an area which could be room for error on the side of Team Brothers. Let's see how Sarah Murphy executes on this one.
Pretty well, the Brushers, Carmody, and Brine rated on it. Carmody giving it a last little scrubs. And they pick it out, get a little bit of a roll. As around the world it goes and comes to a stop in the 8-foot area on the other side of the sheet. Daisy blanked in 4, so they're heading to the 5th, and you know, all of a sudden, like, we've seen like the change, because like when we got to the 5th or 6th draws, we saw a lot of offense to start things by the teams, and you know, there was like big scores at the start, like 2s and 3s to start things. Not the case in point. It's tight here and it's tight there over there in the semifinal between Daisy and Stuart Thompson. Daisy out of the Mayflower Curling Club and Stuart out of this very own Dartmouth Curling Club. So
yeah, it's just one of those situations where tonight, because neither team will want to give any form of opening for the other to get a significant lead, it's going to result in a lot of tight ends, and will probably cause both of these games to go down to the wire, probably down to the final rock, if not going to a potential extra ends.
Of course, we're watching some women's action here in semifinals. A reminder to our Bell 5 TV1 folks at the championship, the Scotties will be up for grabs tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. I'll have the call here on Bell 5 TV1, and Marianne Arsenault probably watching, maybe back at the hotel, maybe back at their own place, maybe trying to scout things and take some notes on this one. Awaits the winner of MacDiarmid and Brothers, and we'll be delighted to bring that one to you. And the men's final will be 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so in between some of the draws today, we did see both Team Murphy and Team Arsenault both made appearances to have their practices to decide their rocks for the final. As they finish off with the number 1 seed, I believe they do get hammer and choice of stones. So they were matching rocks to decide which ones that they wanted to have. They can pick from all the sheets that they've been using to pick the best stones, because you want the best stones when you're playing in a championship match. The ones that you're confident with to make the big shots.
Well, here we are, John, once again at a nice little quiet end and moving along here. Just past the 1 hour mark in this one and into the third stones in the 5th end. So I have a funny feeling, of course, we get in that second half, well, probably as the intensity goes up and get to the later stages, things may pick up, and there definitely have banked some time is a term that you like to use, and some of the other curlers like to use as well.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it seems that they're both playing a pretty open style, and they are, as you said, banking some time for later in the game. Again, that could change as they start to get a little bit more aggressive with it. This is almost starting to become like an old school style of a game with low scoring, but the least bit of a mistake, and that could open up the game, as we do see a little bit of a miss there from
that head. Like Carmody, I've noticed, has a lot of rotation on her rocks when it throws. So
yeah, she generally has that on that turn, especially.
And case in point, right there it was just like spinning like a top as it was going all the way down.
So that does give the opportunity there for Marie Christensen to play that draw around. If she can get that as buried as she can, it would really put some pressure on maybe there on that Jill Brothers ring to execute.
And just like that, the front end, Coulter Woodworth on the brushes, going hard. Good picture there, as you see, as they are going to try to come around that and sit there in the 12. Going as deep as they can to get buried, as it will come to a rest in the 12-foot area. And look at that, right on and well protected.
And that's truly one of those ones where you've seen one thing which I've talked about all week is a little thing that I like to call intelligent sweeping or patient sweeping. Is that they knew it was going to break, and they knew they had to take the time to let it go. They knew when to just take their time to just go for it. And once they just took the time, they got it enough to curl over and sit there single point.
Well, when you hear clapping right close to our broadcast location, you know that Stuart Thompson did a good shot. And that's a case in point. So they're getting...
It was Colton Steele making that.
It was
and I think it was the
foursome that I was going by, but I think they want to go by namesake. So
I think it was because it was Colton's family over there that were leading a little bit of that charge.
Chirping the broadcasters on a Saturday night. I just love it here.
Well,
but of course, they want to get their names out
electric.
there. Yeah.
The atmosphere is electric here at the curling club.
Everybody's got a little case of the giggles here.
Oh, we're all having a good time out here.
Yeah, so
they
told you,
whatsoever.
yeah, they told you who did the actual shot. It was the actual team, of course, that we referred to it. But once again, we'll keep everybody updated on that one. So
now this is an interesting opening here for Kristen MacDiarmid. Now, just because of the way that roll he came over as they took out the guard, it gives the opportunity for Kristen to hit to sit the 2, and probably makes it easier to force your multiple going into the break.
ring split, as you see here, as we're getting into the close to the halfway point in the 5th end break. Skip rocks, of course, and there she is. Always usually wearing that black sort of like jacket sort of thing. Kristen MacDiarmid. Maybe used for luck, maybe used for comfort, but it's effective because she's had a great, fantastic season, as we have documented throughout the broadcast pretty well all week out of the Halifax Curling Club.
And great result there. He gets a little bit of a roll, so it's in a bit of a different position. So it's pretty much setting up a nice possibility of getting her deuce going into the break, because there's no way that you can get both of those out. It's probably going to be just two hitting sticks, and it would be a deuce for MacDiarmid. But you never know. You have to execute. We're always curling 100% up here in the broadcast booth. But
no, you are curling 100%. I've always been 0. I will not I will not pick up a rock. I never have. I never will. I just call it.
I think there's been a few times that you've said the shot that they've made on the ice there. At least in the games that I've had with you. So you can't say you haven't curled that 100% there up in the booth. So
now in the process, of course, I'll quickly get this story because we're going to come close, of course, to the final stone here. I did a little bit, but I'm telling you, it was a very small area. It wasn't with rocks. It was just mostly with soccer balls and stuff. I just would roll them and use like a broom or a hockey stick to pretend how to do it. So, but it's totally a different thing. It's like different because once you get on the ice, everything's just different. So I just remember that as a childhood memory when I was like 10 or 11 years of age.
So final stone here from Kristen MacDiarmid. A pretty self-explanatory shot here. Get the hit and stick, and you score your deuce to take the lead. It'll be the first multiple point end in this matchup.
Look at that. They're happy with it, and they'll smack the yellow out, sit there for 2, and that will get the approval of Danny Christensen, of course, right close to us, and as well as the rest of the team. They're going to head into the 5th end break here with the lead. And, of course, we'll put it up on the board here. So the teams are going for the 5th end break. You said it, John, first multiple score. We had a blank in 1 and a steal of Brothers there in the 2nd. And MacDiarmid followed up with a single point in 3, and then Brothers a single point in 4. So 3-2 as we head to the 5th end break. You're watching Bell 5 TV1's coverage of semifinal Saturday here at the 2018 Nova Scotia Scotties.
did, yeah. I think we had where we wanted. Yeah, I think so. Looked like it backed up at the end. Dan fucking through. Yeah. Yeah, it looked like it did. We had it where we wanted it, and then it backed up as soon as I got the boys on it. Yeah. Easy to get started. What? That's a hard shot. Oh, by the way, I heard the new rule is there's no with this fifth, there's no ticket. Nothing paid for the fifth. If the fifth wants to go and you pay for him, if he's recognized he's part of the team, but if there's no ticket in CCA, that's the new rule. That's what it sounds like. And also coaching is going away as well. They're gonna start doing that like 2 years from now. Everyone's gonna get assigned CCA coaching. You win, someone's here. Your coach is great.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 2018 Scotties Tournament of Hearts semifinals here. Semifinals Saturday night. John Seidman and Dan Hobson here bringing you the call of Team Kristen McDiarmid versus Team Jill Brothers. Winner goes on to the final to face Marianne Arsenault for a trip to Penticton at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
Yeah, we'll just update everybody of what happened. Of course, we started off with a blank by McDiarmid in one. Brothers stole one in the second, made it 1-0. McDiarmid came back a single point, made it 1-1 after 3. And then Brothers, who had hammer and 4, got a single point. And then McDiarmid got 2. So as we move on and play on here. So 1 for Brothers, 1 in the first and 1 in the fourth, and 2 here for McDiarmid in the fifth and third ends. 3-2, where we stand as we play the sixth.
And that was the last time was a really good result for the game plan of Kristen McDiarmid, being able to get a multiple point end there to go up mentally strong going into the break. If they're able to force Jill Brothers to take a single here and then work on your multiple point result. So definitely it could be interesting coming into this last few ends.
Of course, Brothers has the hammer here, and she is throwing the blue stones. And 2 just up top 12 there. Along 2 of the McDiarmid foursome. So, yeah, for the first time since the start of this one, you said first multiple score. It's also the first lead that McDiarmid has had in this one. So,
yeah, it's one that is going to be very challenging to defend because when Jill Brothers is down, she is a very offensive style team that can really execute when needed, to especially when you can see leads making doubles like it appears you're going to see here.
Yep, bang, bang, and the Blues go. And things are empty here in the early sixth end.
Since we were updating our viewers of the Dacey Thompson match, they just put up the fifth end result, and it is a single point end for Mark Dacey. So it's a 3-1 lead over there over Stuart Thompson playing end number 6. Luke Saunders just got started over there, so we'll keep you updated again. It's going to be a very busy evening here at the Dartmouth Curling Club.
Up 2 draws, and of course, all being broadcasted here on Bell 5 TV 1 as Liz Garnett and Celine Thompson have the call of the Thompson-Dacey 1. So this one, not a brush laid to it here. Brothers pouncing, trying to get it deep and try to get it out, but it will get the brakes on just enough time to stay back 8.
It's going to be interesting to see here if she does what she's looking at of playing the hit and roll. It certainly shows a little bit of that change in style compared to what they've seen there. So good.
Sarah Murphy is just taking a little bit of a breather before she gets ready to throw here. It's as you take a look at her there. So, of course, mentioned a little bit earlier in the broadcast, if, of course, those who just tuned in and missed that the Sarah last year, of course, was out, missed a lot of action because of family purposes, is back this year. So they were a team that actually had like 5 actually in the provincial championships last year. They had a team of 5. Sometimes Carmody had some class issues, so they, weren't afraid to, throw all 5 there in the lineup. No, there wasn't going to be a loss.
I think it was pretty much a mix of class issues and also who pretty much had the babysitting duty for the draw sometimes, because I think that at that time that was when they had multiple newborns in the club while they were waiting during the games. But again, all 5 of them are extremely strong players, and were able to play well in any position that they were given.
Front end going hard on this one. Well by, punches the yellow out. Nice shot to sit there for 2. This Kristen McDermott foursome of the Halifax Curling Club. Leading for the first time as we play 6.
Yeah, I don't know how open that one is that they just rolled onto that last one. It seems like if I were to guess, it's a little bit open. So, but there's no real reason. There it's about half open. There could be some opportunities to play with that. However, that being said, you're going to probably see Sarah play a pretty good freeze here. She's been playing this type of shot really well all week.
A larger-than-life port to come through and easily. Staggered guards there, hoping to come to a rest just on that blue, but they do come up shot, but they are the shot rock, but there is room there for McDermott to punch it out. Yeah,
it was a little bit wide for what they wanted. They really wanted it to be resting on the nose of that stone of Team McDermott's, which would have really made the scoring area a lot tighter and put the McDermott ring under a little bit more pressure. With this, it's a little bit more straightforward. McDermott can remove that and sit 1, 2, 3. And it could lead to a force.
Yeah, it's been a game where that you might have had Hammer, but boy, the team without Hammer has put a lot of pressure on, and that's probably why we have the score 3-2. Not really much going in terms of offense. They punched that yellow out, and there you see it, 1, 2, 3. The McDermott team of the Halifax Curling Club lying after punching out that yellow stone belonging to Brothers.
So now you're going to probably see here Aaron Carmody called on to play a bit of a draw around and onto that stone of Team McDermott's at the back of the forefoot. If they can freeze really nice here, it could really set them up well to get out of this end with a good result.
Also heard a term working with some other curlers throughout the week saying that if you have Hammer and you have rocks behind the teen lines, they're not really your friends. I've heard that one too.
Yeah, it's definitely the case because as you've seen there's many times where, just like this stone here, it pretty much comes to rest pretty much on it, and it.
Yep, it's just
in that case, it pretty much is very difficult to remove without taking multiple shots to do it.
I still like yellow being the shot rock.
Yeah, yellow. It is pretty close, though. I kind of favor a very tight measure. Honestly, it's tough to tell. We look at our screen in front of us and the curling club screen, and it's pretty difficult to tell either way. One looks slightly different than the other.
Well,
I kind of favor blue.
I'm not going to lose any sleep over, because, you know, if Liz Woodworth comes, or pardon me, if Marie Christensen comes down, picks that out, I'm not going to be too much of a concern. It's basically not even going to be much of a point anymore.
I probably see here that you're going to see Marie's going to come down to the stone at the back of the 4-foot, try to sit the 2, and then it would really put pressure. Because then you'd be really,
of course,
put in a good position for it.
Yeah, the front end of going hard here of Coulter and Woodworth. And they'll put that right in front of the tee line, the 4-foot area.
Good results. It's shot stones. That really tightens up the scoring area.
Yeah. Yep, so it looks like they're just going to try to jam that 4-foot as physically possible. And there they are looking at it again. So we're into third rocks here in 6.
So I think the question is here, which way did they go toward that yellow, and whether it's potentially running in a yellow onto the blues at the 4-foot, which it kind of appears like that is what they may end up doing. Which that's a very interesting call, but knowing Aaron's skill set at third stones, it's definitely makeable. You're probably going to see some big weight here.
Big skip experience between brothers and Carmody. Here is Carmody. Throws a little bit of heat at it. So far, Murphy Bryan along for the ride. Bangs onto the yellow, pushes the blues back, and pushes it back enough there so the shot rock belongs to brothers. And Carmody with a big shot here in 6, cleaning things up.
Yeah, the big thing with that now is that the middle's open a little bit more now, and it makes it a little bit easier to access that 4-foot area with a little bit of a easier weight, whether the easier weight meaning a nice hit weight or to have a nice draw with backing. It appears that Kristen is going to go for the hit. That's pretty much in her skill set of what she usually likes to play. I would tend to guess that she probably plays a lot more hits in these games, at least that I've seen her play this week, than draws, because of that experience playing third for many years.
Remind everybody that, of course, tomorrow here on TV1 live stream, we're going to have the finals from the East Coast Ice Jam at the BMO Center. Going to be a fantastic day. They've got the Bantams hitting the ice tomorrow, so tune in and watch that one. Getting down to the nitty-gritty in that one, and a big hockey tournament that's in the area, and you have a chance to watch the finals tomorrow on TV1.
Yeah, I heard there was some big matches over there, including the Steel Super Major Midgets versus the Halifax McDonald's in a little battle of the bridges in the quarterfinals.
Are they facing each other again?
It seems they always end up facing each other in that big event.
They just met like at the Monktonian back in November. They seem like they have to keep like playing each other in these big time events.
And they're at the top of the Nova Scotia Major Midget Hockey League rankings, so they're fighting it out for the chance to go on to the Atlantic Major Midgets hosted by the Cole Harbour Wolfpack.
That will be out at the East Hants Sportsplex.
And hopefully, if all goes well, I'll be the public address voice in the arena for that event. Looking forward to that. I've been working with the Wolfpack for the past few years. as their in-arena voice at Cole Harbour Place. So here, definitely a challenging shot for Jill Brothers. She's probably going to try to freeze onto that stone at the edge of the 4-foot. If she can do that nice and put it in a tough position to remove, you never know.
Brian giving it the scrub here as closing ends of end number 6.
Starting to come down now, so they're going to need to go for weight.
You can hear Jill yelling, go hard, and they're going hard. Yes! Give it a little touch. But it looks like it will put the brakes on just before the tee line. Sit there in the 4, but well open.
Yeah, it's definitely well open now, and it really plays into the game plan now that, as we had talked about at the start of this end, that MacDiarmid will have the ability to probably force Jill to take her single point with the attempt there on the last rock. That being said, it makes it a very difficult shot for the Jill Brothers to execute and potentially could lead to a miss. You never know. It'll be challenging.
Well, we said it earlier, things may pick up like once you get into the second half of this one. Case in point, 4 stones in the house right now. Pretty well a little bit more than what was there in the first half. Is the throw from Christian MacDiarmid on its way here in 6.
Sweeper's working on this here.
Yeah, slight brushing there by the front end of Coulter and Woodworth. They said that port's huge, easily can get by, punches it out. And 1, 2, 3, 4. MacDiarmid lies here. And that's what Brothers has to face with her last one.
So looks like she's just going to play the draw. She can afford to have it cross center because she has the backing with that stone there at the top of the 4-foot. But pretty much she gets full 4-foot. She scores her single point and ties this game up at 3. Makes it a 4-end game.
Taking time to get ready here is Jill Brothers out of the Mayflower Curling Club with her final stone here in number 6, facing 4 blue handled stones belonging to Christian MacDiarmid in this semifinal Saturday at the 2018 Nova Scotia Scotties.
Sweeper's on and off here, but it is curling now.
Hoping it puts the brakes on in time.
Rolls over and a little bit there, just enough.
Yeah, pops there for the single point for Jill Brothers. So 3-3 as we head to end number 7. MacDiarmid will have the hammer. Nothing new to pass along to the viewers, of course. Wanting to get scoring updates on the Stuart Thompson versus Mark Dacey game. You talked about it, a big 3-1 as they play the 6. Nothing new to report. Of course, they just had the end finish, so that will change probably about 30 seconds from now. So we'll be gladly passing that information on to you as soon as it get posted.
Yeah, I think that there's currently a discussion over there on that sheet, as there was a timeout called. So currently, it does appear, though, that Stewart is sitting the 1. The question is he's trying to get a multiple. Down 2, he really wants to get back in the game with a deuce, similar to how Kristen got her deuce in 5.
Back to the action at hand here, and we are cruising right along here on a Saturday night. 7th in, 3-3. Have pretty well, with the exception of the blank in the first end, have had points in every end. Brothers, of course, stole in the second, and MacDiarmid came back with a single point in 3, and then Brothers had hammered 4 with a single point, and then MacDiarmid, with, as John mentioned, with a first multiple score of 2 to head into the break 3-2, and then Brothers just seconds ago got a single point. And that's where we stand as we head to the 7th. Things start to get a bit loud here upstairs at the Dartmouth Curling Club. Delighted to be here. Not really surprised about the amount of people that are here. It is, of course, when you have a couple of hometown rinks here participating, that will definitely bring the attendance and bring the curling enthusiasts of Dartmouth here to get a chance and watch some really good curling. And of course they're hoping that Stuart Thompson can pull out the impossible and win 3 straight today and punch his ticket to the final. Of course, that's on sheet C with Salita Thompson and Liz Garnett. And of course, we're concentrating our efforts here on the women's semifinal. It's been a dandy back and forth affair, 3-3 as we play the 7th. As we said, and as you see, MacDiarmid has the hammer throwing the blue stone.
So a little bit of a rub there on the guard. So that gives the opportunity now that Kristen's going to call for her lead, Julia Coulter, to come around that, try to get to the 8-foot, it appears. 8-foot to the 4-foot a little bit there. Important to get this nice and buried here, because if you don't, it does give a few opportunities at removing both blue.
Sweepers on it. This is usually when the rocks start to take off and curl when they get past that hog line, and here it is coming over. And as you see, Christensen Woodworth, great work, sits there, line 2. Early stages of the 7th end.
Yeah, good result. It is half open, so that could give the opportunity to get some of them moving. Seems like, based on how Jill is moving around there, that she's going to try to run back the guard and try to use that to remove that front stone just put up by Team MacDiarmid. You get it right, you could move both.
Throwing lots of heat on this is Murphy, and you can see that she's telling them to go hard, and hard they go. Will jam one of the blues right back, of course, removes the yellow, so shot rock now belonging to MacDiarmid, but what that does is pretty well makes the lots of room here for MacDiarmid, maybe to bury one behind those 2 yellow brothers guards. Use those to her advantage if she wants. Well, of course, you being the aficionado, you can say what they're going to execute.
Yeah, so here it looks like they're trying to play a little hit and roll over, try to kind of make I think they're trying to get it so that they could roll over and make a guard that is their color. And have it high enough that it would be protecting. That being said, they were a little bit wider and resulting in a rollout. Gives an opportunity for brothers to play the hit.
Sarah Murphy was at Ted's on her last throw and very vocal. Right now, it looks like she has a little bit of a break as the front end gets on it. Carmody, Brine. Heads down all the way, nose and a little roll. So a hit and roll to the 8. Just stops and puts the brakes on before the tee line. So here we go, another quiet end here on Saturday night here. Of course, semi-final Saturday at the 2018 Nova Scotia Scotties. He's John Simon. My name's Dan Hobson. Delighted to have you here.
It does look like they are leading for a potential blank in this end, meaning that they're playing the style of what we've seen in many of the first ends throughout the week of the hit and roll out or hit and roll over. And that being said, now with that roll behind the guard, it makes it a little bit more difficult.
As you can hear once again, this Stuart Thompson fan club here tonight getting ready for a shot there as they're in the skip stones in 6.
And it does appear like Stuart's trying to go for 3, so that you could hear a little bit of a ruckus
give
behind
them the
us.
warning now as Carmody stroke is on its way here in 7.
Oh, actually, yeah, that is for 3 over there. And the lead.
Carmody wanting this to put the brakes on, and just in time there. Back 4.
So it does give the opportunity now for Kristen that she's probably going to play to a hit and roll over with. It appears like she was deciding which way to go. That now it looks like she's going to roll behind the guard, playing the intern, which that's the call I'd be going for, because now it puts it that you'd have your 2 behind cover and a pretty much forced play into the 4-foot.
Marie Christensen, third stones here in the 7th end.
Sweeper's working on this one here.
They get right on it. That's Coulter. Woodworth. Punch it. Oh, I think he even heard Danny Christensen say, great shot, as he's very close to our broadcast location. Having a smile. Of course, they've had a great season, and he's done a fantastic job and have gotten them here. Of course, the players have made the shots, but he's also been really, the architect, I guess you could say, and has done fantastic with this team, as I mentioned.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they have done really
nice
well.
Gentleman,
too. He's been a long-time fixture in the curling circuit, having, I believe, coached Marie for a while at some point.
Yeah, they just knows that one there from Carmody, so it's pretty well wide open.
So it does give the
wide
opportunity
open spaces
here. You're probably going to see Kristen's going to call to try to hit and roll. The question is, how do you roll over? They're going to play it from the outturn side, as it appeared that they were playing it a little bit thick on the intern side. With the guard, it makes it a little bit difficult to get to. Best way to hit the shot is this one here.
Yep, there is Coulter and Woodworth on it already, and now they're off. So in the sport of curling, what does that mean? They're close. Now they're back on again. There's that yellow guard. Oh, yeah, by a mile. They'll punch the yellow, roll, and just stay in the 8-foot area to lie to.
Honestly, that rolled too far, because now that gives the opportunity that Jill can play a double on this shot and get out at the end. She doesn't have to keep her shooter, but she can remove both of those blue and probably even stick the shooter. Only has to probably hit about a thick third of that rock, and that would be enough to get both blue moving.
Just a little bit of a half-shot difference has really set this up here for Jill here as we are in the 7th. As a look at Aaron Carmody, as you see Christensen and MacDiarmid. Looking over Carmody's shoulder on the shot, and a good crowd on hand as you see in the background, looking through the windows. That's the pretty well primed seating. That's the reserve seating.
Sweepers working on this one here and needs to hold the line as best they can, even for the
by.
roll.
Easily by, they get the roll and roll back over. And will come to a rest and be second shot.
It's challenging there because I'm
going to say,
that second shot there, and it does open up the position now that with this stone here from Kristen, she's going to probably play the hit and stick, and then that's enough that she could score, I believe, a 2.
Well, things are looking good here in the late stages.
Still has a lot of work to do to get that, but
well, she's
not
got
out of the realm of possibility.
One. Yeah, she's got the first one in a good shape. Just got to be careful not to roll over to that one, and she noses it, so making sure she still keeps that split rings, keep them away from each other so you don't leave a double, because things are still open with only just one corner guard up.
It's one of those positions here where it does appear like they're looking at probably playing the hit and roll. If they play it hard enough, they probably could get the double. It is pretty lined up.
Be very thin, I would think.
It's a little bit more lined up than.
Things you see.
A little bit of a commotion there.
The things you see and hear when you're in the curling audience broadcasting to people online around the world. It's
a Canadian curling club on a Saturday evening is definitely an interesting society in the world.
Nose hit on its way here. And we'll stay there. Of course, with every nose hit, they move a little bit closer and closer to the button in the scoring area.
So now pretty straightforward for Kristen MacDiarmid. You get the hit and stick, you score your deuce.
Yep.
It's in a bit of a different area than what she's been playing this type of shot than what we've seen in the past, so they'll have to really be aware once it crosses the center line, if it's the least bit holding out.
It's been a game that has seen a lot of single points, but she's the only one that got a multiple score in 5, hoping to repeat that process here in end number 7. Kristen MacDiarmid out of the Halifax Curling Club of her final stone. Bang on and does to get the 2 points. So 5-3 for MacDiarmid as we head to end number 8. And you can see the little portion of the sheet there of the other game taking place, the other semifinal between Dacey and Stuart Thompson. So as you see, Brothers will have the hammer here in 8, and Brothers is throwing the yellow stones. But boy, if this is a scary stat. The teams played last night, and it was 5-3 after 8 ends of play. What is the score right now, John?
Score is 5-3.
5-3. It can't get any scarier than that.
The only thing that could be scarier is if it was the exact same sheet of ice and the exact same rocks as they had in
the exact same shots and the exact same timeouts.
Well, because we had a pretty similar situation with a match between Matthew Manuel and Graham Weagle at the juniors, where they had played on, I believe it was Wednesday afternoon, and then Thursday afternoon they played on the exact same sheet, exact same rocks, and exact same final result. So could this be a sign of things to come? Still a long way to go.
Yep, 3 ends left here. Can't remember if we've updated things. Of course, we heard the commotion, but it's Stuart Thompson leading 4-3 over Mark Dacey. Mark Dacey of the Mayflower Curling Club, and Stuart Thompson, the hometown boy, playing in his club here with a great fan base, not only just upstairs, but not only downstairs, but also ice level as well. He is... They're going to be some tired by the time tonight comes, not only just to have to play like that tiebreaker in the morning against Chad Stevens, win that one, and of course the tiebreaker against Kendall Thompson, his own brother, win that one. And here he is once again. As I said, that's 4 games actually, in a 24-hour time span, as they played the final draw of the men's last night, which began at around 8 o'clock too. So that is a hard schedule.
And they're going to have a really quick turnaround, especially being that the men's final will be at 9 a.m. So once you get through this game, which will probably, based on how it's going, probably go 10 or 11 even, it could really be a very late night for the Stuart Thompson foursome, and could potentially lead to a very tired evening.
They just come through the port and they just push the blue over, and it's pretty well put it in a good spot.
Yeah, that puts it pretty much completely buried there, as you see on your screen. Question is now, where does Kristen MacDiarmid want to go here? She does appear like she is playing. I think she maybe, is she guarding? I really don't know. In this instance, I'd be pretty interested in potentially trying to guard and force Jill into playing a few hits. Waste a few shots on some peels to when you could be trying to execute it into the house.
Well, you put a they tried to probably do like a guard on a guard there, and
just over curled there, so that does open up the opportunity for Jill Brothers to make a play on the 2 closest blue. You can get both of them going and get some movement. You could set yourself up really nice.
Sarah Murphy has to remove some blue-handled shrapnel here in end number 8. We'll just remove that front one, and the shooter goes out of play as well. I was thinking that I like the idea there of that double guard, because they're going to possibly try to run that back, and if you put that up there, of course that makes that out of the rim a possibility. So not a bad call, of course, as you say, just over curl, but they just the Murphy team just peeled that closest one towards the house, and they removed the shooter as well. So
yeah, now gives the opportunity there that Kristen is able to play another guard, try to protect that stone at the top of the 4-foot.
Pretty well replace it.
Makes it very challenging for Jill to be able to get a position where she can get into the button and into the 4-foot area to score.
Going to take a good look at it.
I think there's a few people in the crowd on the edge of their seats for both games, but I think there's a few reactions from their hometown boy over there on sheet C. So brothers here going for the double peel, trying to get both blue moving.
Basically wedge with a whole whack of heat in the middle of those two, and it should spell them both put in the hands of Sarah Murphy. And look at that. Splits and removes those blue handled stones, but does leave a yellow guard there for brothers, but that blue stone pretty well, of course, that belongs to the MacDiarmid team, open for the time being.
As you said, it is open now, so that really does force Kristen, if she wants to try to keep the play of having that be the potential steal point, she is going to need to place this guard just perfect here with the stone from Marie Christensen. If it's the least bit off, whether it's wide or narrow, it could leave the stone that they have at the 4 foot exposed and give an opportunity for Jill Brothers to get out of this end.
Well, it's been a game that every time you've had the hammer, it's almost like you don't really want it because the other team just has applied the pressure every end in this one. Reason why the score is 5-3. MacDiarmid has had made the most opportunities of her hammer with 2s in 5 and 7, but they have not been easy ones. That's for sure. She's earned those 2 points.
Yeah, definitely very hard fought deuces there in 5 and 7. Jill's playing phenomenally well along with the rest of her team, and it's just been a little theme of the day being the little things being a big difference. And though there weren't very many misses, it's just which shots you chose to play being what is separating these two teams.
Erin Carmody, usual heavy rotation on the rock. And she splits things up and moves the blue over to the 8 foot area. And it may be just covered up there by that yellow stone. We'll
it does appear
like a good chance to take a look at it. Yeah, well, you can see probably about maybe about half of it.
Solid half, but I think that that's a little bit difficult to get to. So you're going to see Kristen play to draw to the other side, it appears, if my eyes are correctly.
Still, I believe that was a really nice shot there by Sarah Murphy a couple of shots ago. They're getting some of those stones off the center line and really making it so that the Bill brothers foursome here can make some of the shots here in this end. Selena Thompson just did the Brian Williams. That is disastrous sort of comment. Just her over there. So
I think based on the reaction from the crowd, there was a pick on the final stone of Stuart Thompson. And that leaves Mark Dacey sitting at least 3 there with a draw to the rings for 4.
Yeah, they're going to go back and forth in that one. That's on sheet C. Of course, we'd love for you to stay here, but if you want to go watch that one with Selena Thompson, Liz Garnett, sure, why not? All you have to do is kick the little logo where it says the C full coverage, and you have a chance to watch at tv1.belllight.ca/live.
Or hey, when in doubt, you could put 2 windows, one with Liz and Selena on one side, one with me and you on the other, and watch both of them at the same time.
Yeah, but then they would have to listen to 4 different voices. I don't know how well that would go very well.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I've seen some people able to do it.
Carmody throwing some heat here in the 8th. Nice brushing. Slight roll. shot rock, so of course the MacDiarmid team will have to make a play on it.
And it is confirmed there are 4 in the 7th end for Mark Dacey. Leads 7-4, playing end number 8. Stuart Thompson has the hammer in 8, looking to come back after a disastrous pick, costing him a big point end in end number 7. But here, it's pretty self-explanatory here, trying to get the hit. And really, keep it split enough that if it forces Jill to a difficult shot or to taking her single.
Well, the game plan has been pretty good here. Like for MacDiarmid, of course, she has scored 2 twice in this one, with 2s in the 5th and 7th. And Brothers, every time she's had hammer, really have been only able to get a single point. So the plan has worked very well. As she'll pick out that yellow stone here, as Brothers will have the hammer here in 8th. She has the yellow stones.
So here it does appear like they're looking at trying to freeze to that stone at T-line in the 8-foot. If they can place it in a position where it makes it extremely challenging to remove, like maybe about a solid third to a solid half, just enough to be shot, it would make it very difficult to remove and could manufacture the deuce out of pretty much an end where you could probably never see a deuce coming out of just the shots that Jill's had.
Well, it's been an end where they've had to, needed some humdingers of a shots there to get out of some hot water, to get out of the danger zone. And Carmody as well as Murphy, they've made them here. So as we see the first of 2 from Jill Brothers on its way here in end number 8, 5-3, Kristen MacDiarmid of the Halifax Curling Club leading the Mayflower Curling Club's Jill Brothers.
So sweepers on and off here, just trying to get that freeze as we had said.
Look at the hook on that one as it's starting to come over.
Just bumps it enough to be shot stone.
They'll take a look at it. Carmody says she's happy with the job that Brian and Murphy did on that one.
Yes, the big question here is how can you get this stone of Team Brothers out and try to potentially hold your shooter? It's pretty challenging based on where it is. So honestly, if I were Kristen, I would probably be firing a peel weight shot at it. Just remove it and force Jill to draw the 8-foot and just take the single, and then you have the hammer back in end number 9 for a chance to do a little bit more out of it.
The cool as a cucumber Kristen MacDiarmid with her final stone here in end number 8.
And these are the types of shots that she's made a lot of this tournament, so she gets to hit and roll out to sit the 2.
Our fans, of course, it's funny, like we're in a C because to our left is the Stuart Thompson fan club and to our right is a Kristen MacDiarmid fan club. So I said it before, I say it again, we got to make sure that we are really nice to everybody around here, or we're not coming out here, We're going home probably in a trunk or something. Yeah,
I think as well, though some of the adult fans of the Jill Brothers team are all here as well enjoying the action. There's probably a few of their youngest members having a nice sleep there this late in the evening.
Well, they started to give me some of the kids because I said it was going to be their daycare, and all of a sudden there was like babies to the left, babies to the right. Let's get back to seriousness here. Final stone here.
Sweepers working on this. They need to go here.
Yeah, Jill's right there. Tell them to go. Brian Murphy, go, girls, go. Drag it, drag it, drag it. Do they drag it enough?
It's close, but I do favor it is tight. They probably will call for a measure if it's close. Oh,
Pointed at blue, I believe.
no particular indication yet, but
I did see like one of the MacDiarmid team point one of the blue stones, but
honestly, if I were in the MacDiarmid team, I would be pointing at my stone anyway, because it doesn't matter when sometimes when you think that in a measure situation that it could be tight, yours is always the closest to when you think of it.
Yep, so they will post that scoreboard, so we will hold tight. Yes, we are going to the 9th, and we will update that as soon as the board is updated for you. So
it does appear that Jen Bryan is stepping into the hacks. That would be a single for the Jill Brothers foursome in end number 8.
So we'll make it 5-4. Thank you very much, John. So 5-4 as we head to the 9th. So as you see, there is Jen Bryan, as John mentioned. So I said it before, I said it again. MacDiarmid gets 2, Brothers gets 1. It just seems like that's the way this has sort of materialized. So this Christian MacDiarmid team just 2 wins away from going to the final against Marianne Arsenault tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and they've really been picking up their play throughout this game. Jill Brothers' team is a tough one to defend against, and they've really shown that they can do so. Playing extremely well. A reminder to our viewers there that though we would love to see you here on Bell TV 1, if you are in the area, we'd love to see you out here live. Though the evening's play is just about nearing its conclusion, there will be 2 exciting championship finals tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the men in the Deloitte Tankard, and at 2 p.m. for the ladies, with the winner of this game versus Marianne Arsenault. So there's some great value to watch some great curling here at the Dartmouth Curling Club on Canal Street in downtown Dartmouth.
So as you see, MacDiarmid has the hammer in 9th, as indicated by that big hammer in the corner of your screen. And MacDiarmid has the blue stones.
So appears like, based on that, Kristen's calling for Julia Coulter to come around the 2 guards put up by the Jill Brothers team. It's tight, but it's definitely available.
Do slight brushing. Double guards. No big deal right now, as they will just touch their blue stone. It comes to a stop.
Yeah, now it's in a position that's very tight. So now they're going to want to try to play a downweight hit, try to get a little bit of movement on that. With the position that it is now, makes it a bit challenging to try to remove.
We mentioned, of course, earlier in this game about Sarah Murphy, of course, missing some time last year due to family purposes. She's been a full-time player here, and definitely would love to go to the Scotties. And of course, the Scotties as we mentioned, in Ticton, British Columbia, some of the people that have punched their ticket that are, of course, familiar to us was Robin McPhee. We've seen at Dave Jones, not just like November of last year, but the year before that. And, of course, Carrie Galusha, Stacy Curtis, and Sylvie Robichaud. Robichaud out of New Brunswick, Curtis out of Newfoundland, Labrador. And defending champion Michelle Inglot.
Actually, that's a little bit of a different situation this year because last year Rachel Holman defeated Michelle Inglot in the final, but being that there was a little bit of a clash with the preparation for the 2018 Olympics in Pyeongchang, Team Holman had to forfeit that spot there so that they could be in Korea. So Michelle Inglot, as the runner-up, by default gets the spot as Team Canada. Definitely liking that because they won't have to go through a very strong Manitoba playdowns, which I believe are also happening this week.
Yeah, it's a lot of the playdowns are pretty well this week, and of course the finals have be tomorrow pretty well. Most of the provinces, I say, it was just a few handful that are still up for grabs. One of them being here, but 7 provinces already have people going, and we've seen Carrie Galusha, of course, on the big stage there for the Northwest Territories. Of course, that's of course very hard with the lack of curling rinks that they have up there. Pretty well.
But
it's really tough for them to do well once they get to the national stage, taking out some of these high caliber teams.
That name of Carrie Galusha, some people may not recognize that name as much, but they would probably recognize her maiden name of Cooey. That is the sister of Kevin Cooey and Jamie Cooey, longtime Brier competitors, both for the Northwest Territories and Alberta. And that entire family truly knows how to curl extremely well. And it's good to see Carrie back in the Scotties. There was one of the years recently with relegation, she lost a heartbreaker of a final. So it will be good to see the Northwest Territories with her back in the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
Nice shot there as it sort of picks some of the rocks out there. Just executed there by Murphy. So you look at Liz Woodworth here.
So still setting up pretty well there for Team Brothers with a few stones in play. So Liz is going to want to try to remove this, and potentially she could get the double out of it. Yeah, just hit thin, so rolls out the back.
Yeah, they did some nice brushing there on that one. As it looked like it could almost, but of course the double, it's always risky. But they did keep the line on it. Just got one. As we look at the shot stone for overhead cameras.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. There are 6 provinces doing their playdowns this week. In this Scotties, playdowns: Ontario, Alberta, Quebec, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Northern Ontario. So lots of stuff on the line for the top women's teams in the country.
Unable to keep the shooter was Erin Carmody, but she removes the blue handle stone that was sitting there in the 4-foot area belonging to the Kristen McDermott team out of the Halifax Curling Club. And she kind of out of camera range, slightly shaking her head on that one as Brian Murphy and Carmody have a little bit of a team meeting there. You see them right just in the corner of your screen to your right. Ray Christensen. Punch that out, and there'll be a roll, and it will roll to the back and out.
as we see Jill calling there for come around behind the guard, I will mention there that there is actually one province deciding their champion this evening, as Northern Ontario, Tracy Fleury and Kristen McCarville battling it out for the spot representing the Northern Ontario contingent at the Scotties. Those are two really highly credentialed teams who will put up a threat in Penticton.
Good to see that they have a team out of Northern Ontario, because at some point they didn't quite have them there in the Brier and the championships, but of course everybody will, all they got to do, the young kids have to do it, is just take a look at Northern Ontario's Al Hackner from back in 1984 making that impossible shot against Pat Ryan.
And now, of course, popularly with Brad Jacobs. Most recently. And Fleury and McCarville have been really popularizing the women's circuit for them. So it will probably be a battle in the Sioux for that one.
That is a curling heavy city there, or area for Northern Ontario. So it's almost like once you come, if you're Alberta or Manitoba, when you get out there, pat yourself on the back. Same for Northern Ontario as well.
Mm. So we're going to see Marie coming here, trying to play to that stone at the edge of the 8-foot. If she can get a nice freeze on that while still holding shot stone, it would be a really good result. Needs to slow down a little bit, let the sweepers do the work.
They want it to come over. Yeah, one of the MacDiarmid fans are sort of just trying to will it over and push it over, moving the head back and forth, trying to say, get over, and talk to it, and close to our broadcast location. Carmody brothers talking it out.
Yeah, the biggest thing here is simply in the weight that they have to throw to try to get it so that they can remove the stone of Kristen MacDiarmid's while still keeping that stone of their own at the edge of the 8-foot. It's going to be probably trying to throw just over, I'd say, backline-ish weight, just enough to get to the nose. If they can get to the nose, that should be enough to get it to cross and get that blue out of play.
Brothers in number 9 as we're into skip rocks. And just like that, Brian and Murphy on it upon her release, and you could hear her saying, go hard, and they are going hard. Both Brian, Murphy, heads down. Will that yellow one spill in? It will. Yes, indeed. And a nice little hook around there to come and sit in the 12.
Still, it does have Kristen MacDiarmid holding shot stone, so she's going to, on this shot, try to come around that stone that just came to rest, just biting on the edge of the 8-foot on the other side, to try to almost play like a guard inside the house and still sit here too. It would really be a tough position, because it would force a tough shot to try to for Jill Brothers to try to hold this. Jill needs to steal to keep this game really manageable. If Kristen gets this and there's a miss, it could really be challenging for the former champion to return to the final.
And right away, there was the front end there of Coulter and Woodworth on it. Now they're off of it. Starting to come over and curl, getting away from the center line area. There you go, line 2.
Probably, it's a good result. It's still going to be challenging for them, and especially for Jill Brothers a little bit more of the fact that now you really have to find the right way to make the hit and roll to force a miss out of this Kristen McDermott team, who have really been putting up a good performance here this evening.
Seems like definitely since the second end, pardon me, that she has been sort of like chasing McDermott in this one. And, you know, with teams, of course, so close together, as we talked about, having the season that they are, the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams here, fitting that they put on a show, and they have, as we see the final stone here from Jill Brothers on the Mayflower Curling Club, and already nothing laid on it, as she said, whoa, right away, hoping for it to good for results, and we'll just do it all by itself as it sits there.
So that is a good position, because now this type of line, being that you're pretty much hugging the edge of the center line, once it comes off, it's tended to really move. So it's still, though it is an open hit and stick for year 2, it's a challenging one at that. And the least bit of a difference in your delivery, and it could end up causing it to over or under curl.
Dartmouth Curling Club on a Saturday night here, getting a little bit quieter here as we look at the final stone here by the Kristen McDermott foursome out of the Halifax Curling Club. Hit, stick, get your 2.
Sweeper's just working on this, dusting it in, and score your deuce.
Yeah. So it makes it 7 for McDermott and 4 for Brothers as we head to end number 10.
And that's just been the whole tale of this. As I said, the most critical ends so far in this whole event have, like in this game, have been ends 4 through 7, because that's been really that point just before the break going into just after, and McDermott outscored Brothers 4-2, and has kept that going ever since to still maintain this lead. You're going to need to see an aggressive start from Team Brothers to try to score their 3 points that they need, but McDermott's not going to take any chances.
Just grip it and rip it, and that's what Coulter does, Julia Coulter. As it goes to the back. I love that shot because, I mean, there's just no room for mistakes. I can make that in my sleep all night.
Yeah, that's one of the shots that they like for the statistics, because it's probably the easiest one to score, because it's you get it through the house, you're all good. In fact, I think there's actually a special stat for just brokers.
Well, you know, I'm all about the numbers, so as I said, I could do that one in my sleep and do it all the time. It's just all of a sudden when I have to face a rock, then all of a sudden those percentage that I have just all of a sudden it tilts off. The productivity curve goes down.
So as you see here, Julia just heaving it through.
Well, at least they split the sweeping duties, or, you know, basically one went down the rock with the one and another one the other. So, well, hey, why not? Hey, you know,
now it's going to be a situation where Kristen will be pretty much counting down the rocks because you need to have brothers score 3 in order to send this game into extra time. So it's highly possible you could see Team MacDiarmid run brothers out of rocks. Still a long way to go, but brothers does have 2 guards in play.
Al MacDiarmid has a choice of 2 yellow corner guards to remove, and she's made her decision, so everybody here on the Kristen MacDiarmid team will have their peeling pants on and ready to clean things up here in number 10. Liz Woodworth here.
So Liz starting the hits, trying to just simply, you don't even need to stick around because any rock in play, even yours, is something that the opposition can use to exploit that for a chance to get back in the game. So rolling out is always going to be the name of the game for this remainder at the end.
Ryan Carmody doing a little extra brushing there. Stuart Thompson sort of climbing back into that one, 7-5 as they play the 9th, and of course we will quickly sign off if you want to go over and watch the conclusion of that one. And semifinal Saturday night at the Dartmouth Curling Club.
So gets the hit, rolls out.
Yeah, just enough, and it will spin to the wings and out. Might have been a little bit more nervous than what they wanted, and it might have been a little bit of extra, chewing fingernails, but hey, it's they got the job done. Sometimes it's not, there's a term in sports that one of the coaches in NFL, and this was from way back in the heydays, that sometimes, it talks about wins, sometimes some wins are pretty and then sometimes wins are ugly, sort of thing. So he said some of them are, some of them are pretty and some of them are pretty ugly.
And that's the funny thing with this type of a sport like curling, is that you can have the worst game of your life and win, and you could have the best game of your life and lose. I had one game at high school provincials. I curled 96% and still lost 7-1. So it happens.
Did you go around and show everybody, hey, I might have lost that look, but I was 96% efficient?
When you're playing a youth Olympic gold medalist in Carly Burgess, you kind of end up having some challenges.
What made you want to go play her? Why?
Because when you go to high school curling and you play mixed, you expect to play some of the best. Our 4 losses that year were Carly Burgess, Mary Fay, Matt Manuel, and Ryan Abraham. 4 of the best teams in the province, and those were our only 4 losses that season.
Well, that sounds like a good one because those are ones that definitely are strong ones for sure.
So now you're going to see Aaron coming around this guard, trying to bury it as far as they can. Needs every inch.
Ryan Murphy. Back 8. Durban will come out, and that's a pretty buried right in behind this.
So now I think Kristen's kind of looking at just the angle of when you peel this one with the turn that she wants, because it appeared she was looking at originally going out on where it would move. So now she's moved over to the end.
Marie Christensen.
So this is probably going to roll over onto their one if they hit it thick, but it does appear like, yeah, they will hit it thin. Oh, there you go. Final score over on.
I guess you don't have to worry
C.
about clicking over there. They're done before we are. I didn't see that happening, but anyway.
There was apparently a 4 in end number 9. So an 11-5 victory for Mark Dacey, the 2004 Brier champion, returning to the final. He will play Jamie Murphy tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the Deloitte Tankard title, with the winner going on to the Brand Center in Regina this March for the Tim Hortons Brier.
Okay, for the viewers that just tuned in, of course, you just saw Dacey defeat Stuart Thompson. My name's Dan Hobson alongside John Seitman, the Bell 5 TV1 crew, as we're getting to the final stages here of this one, semifinal Saturday. You see Krista McDermott, she has the blue-handled stones, leading Brothers, who has the yellow-handled stones, as we are in the 10th, the closing stages here of this one. And of course, waiting in the wings there, Marianne Arsenault out of the Dartmouth Curling Club, waiting to see who her opponent is. And they take each other on at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. If you just joined us, of course, a blank by McDermott in the first and steal by Brother made it 1-0 after 2. And then a single point by McDermott in 1. And then Brothers had a single point, made it 2-1 for Brothers. And then since then, Krista McDermott with a 2 in the ends 5 and 7 to break away. As we see McDermott throw here in 10.
So looking for the hit and stick, and it will now mean that Brothers will have to make her 2 skip stones count and keep the stone that they have at the edge of the 8 foot also counting. It does appear timeout has been called by
Danny Christensen
Joe Brothers.
has left his little coaching area close to our broadcast location to go downstairs.
So that will probably, in this situation, bring out I believe that would bring out Bliss Joyce. Bliss has been doing the timeouts for Team Brothers.
So this will allow, of course, those who just were watching the Dacey Stuart Thompson game, if they've clicked over here, to give you a full up-to-date of what's going. We tried to summarize things. So, as I said, we had a blank by McDermott in the first end, no score, and then a steal by Brothers in the second, 1-0. McDermott got a single point in end number 3 to make it 1-1, and then Brothers have a single point in 4 and 2-1. And this is when the things started to change here, because McDermott got a deuce in end number 5 to make it 3-2, and then Brothers back with hammer and 6, a single point, 3-3, and then McDermott in 7 with another deuce, 5-3, and Brothers single point with hammer in the 8th made it 5-4, and then McDermott once again with another pair in end number 9, 7-4. And that's where we stand, and you're up to date on everything here as we've had our timeout conclude.
So here you're probably going to see Jill's going to try to hit this and try to roll as far as she can behind the guard, enough to keep it in play. It's still going to leave Kristen a shot. Or as I hear one of our audience members behind, she may be probably playing a potential draw, but looks like to me it looks like a draw.
Yeah, Brothers has the hammer here in 10. But she needs to make pretty well these 3 stones that she has left count to get the tie here, force the extra in.
And that was a really great result. The big question is, how open are those 2 stones? That could really be the difference. Because if those 2 stones are buried, it makes it really, really challenging here.
So once again, tomorrow morning.
Those are completely buried.
Once again, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, Jamie Murphy of the Halifax Curling Club versus the Mayflower Curling Club's Mark Dacey will have the call for that final. And Bell 5 TV1, your official online broadcaster of Nova Scotia Curling.
Yeah, so now this is a really tough position because now Brothers is sitting second and third. You pretty much have to find a way to cut that backstone of Team Brothers out of the count and leave you're going to leave Brothers a shot. The big question is which shot that she throws is going to be the most difficult for her to make successfully. If Kristen's able to do that, she could defend against a potential 3. A little bit of tension up here on the second floor of the Dartmouth Curling Club. I think got very quiet.
Yeah, there was also, of course, the Stuart Thompson fan club going home a little bit disappointed tonight, but they had a heck of a run, especially after winning last night against Murphy.
I think a significant chunk of the fan club is actually still out there at ice level, I think.
Well, some upstairs have left. Talking to Kirsten Linsdad, of course, he works here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. He says, pretty well everybody files in here pretty good. They also file out pretty quick, too. They're going hard there on this one here. And a nice shot.
What a result there. But there's actually though there is a lot of applause there on that one, I think if I saw the screen correctly, that if you hit it thin, you can play it thin enough that it's just got to nudge it, but it is there that you could get the double for 3. It's very, very, it's like super challenging. I wouldn't want to be throwing this one if I were.
Yeah, the time clock ticking away, 2:20 and going, and the timeout has been called. Oh, they're going to shake hands. So she came in second ranked here in the province, and she has basically did what maybe people may say the impossible here, defeating Jill Brothers 7-4 as she runs them out of stones here in end number 10. So it will be Kirsten MacDiarmid of the Halifax Curling Club taking on Marianne Arsenault of the Dartmouth Curling Club. And John, this was fantastic, and you can look for the first time this week. Kristen MacDiarmid has a smile on her face, and she earned that.
Yeah, I think she
fantastic curling, and after suffering a little bit of a bump along the way, started off 5-0, lost her 2 last ones in the draw 6 and 7, and then turned it around here with a big win over Jill Brothers, and she pretty well had control of this one right around about the third end of this one.
Yeah, she definitely earned that a win with really consistent play in ends 5, 7, and 9, taking the deuces when she could get them, and really put Jill Brothers under a lot more pressure than what she has been put under all week. And as a result, that has booked her ticket to the final. It was a pleasure to call that one. A late call up, but I'm glad that I was able to be with you for this one. And good luck to Kristen MacDiarmid as she advances on to the final. It's going to be a good one against Marianne Arsenault, the former champion, looking to return once again.
We have the final set in the women's Nova Scotia Scotties. Kristen MacDiarmid taking on Marianne Arsenault. We'll have that one for you at 2 p.m. here on Bell 5 TV 1. And join us for breakfast here, Dartmouth Curling Club, 9 a.m. for the men's final. Jamie Murphy versus Mark Dacey. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. The field of 8 is now down to 2. We should be in for an excellent day of curling tomorrow. So I want to thank John Seitman once again for joining and jumping in. Pleasure once again. And if this is the last time we work together, happy trails, my friend. Hope we'll work again in the future.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be back again, and hopefully we'll see our viewers back here tomorrow morning for some more action. Should be a great Sunday at the Dartmouth Curling Club.
Yeah, so long for now. You're watching Bell 5 TV1's coverage of the Nova Scotia Scotties. Good night, everyone.